When I tell people that she forged stuff, they're like, no. I'm like, look it up. I don't, and they're like, but no accountability
Right.
for some reason on that side when it comes
Right.
to the victimhood, you know. And then in terms of platform, she even got the craziest platform of all. She was able to go to Congress. She was able to sit also in the Capitol in California, and she helped pass laws based on her experiences with Manson. So when I say they're power hungry activists, like they went for a straight line to make laws.
All right, so we've got a special treat for you all today. I'm here with Shane Cashman. What is up, Shane?
What's up? It's good to be here.
It's so awesome to be here in person. We've been talking for a while. Finally get to meet you. And so I wanted to talk about Marilyn Manson, because I know you're really interested in the Manson situation. And it's apparently his birthday today as well, which...
We didn't plan this.
We didn't plan it.
Or did you?
No. It was just perfect timing. It must be like a sign from God or something, I'd like to think. Manson. So first of all, how did you get interested in the whole controversy that has enveloped him the last several years?
It was like the culmination of all the controversies that he's been involved in since I started listening to him in like 7th or 8th grade, you know, because I was in 8th grade when Columbine happened. And then by that time I'd already been a big enough fan to know the news was misinterpreting him. And so he's just one of those artists I always loved, always promoted free expression. And by the time this Me Too stuff was happening, I was like, this is another one of those patterns of misinterpretation in the news. And, you know, again, I was like, I'm willing to listen though, because, you know, I could be wrong. And maybe the news is right for once, which is rare. But so I kind of reserved judgment. I just sat back and watched. But the more the news kept coming out with Evan Rachel Wood, the more her narrative kept falling apart. And like we were talking earlier about seeing her or Ashley Smithline talking on The View and just how bizarre it was with the body language and things really weren't adding up. So then I was like, I think he's a victim once again of being the boogeyman in the news. And he, you know, and this isn't really his fault in terms of, you know, it is and it isn't. He's made himself the person to be easily perceived as a villain forever, which is why I like him. I tend to gravitate towards artists like that. But so since he's made himself easy like that, with the target on his back by certain things he's done on stage or said in songs or in interviews, it was like the perfect candidate to destroy him for people who want power. And that's what I believe, you know, after watching as much as I could and talking to you a lot, watching your videos, like you broke everything down really wonderfully. And, you know, and thank you for talking to me about all of this stuff while I started writing about it. And, you know, then I watched the Evan Rachel Wood, you know, I'm putting in quotes, documentary. I think that's a piece of propaganda. And that really like solidified it for me that this is just more bullshit. And she, like, I'll never forget when she's telling that one story early on in her doc about what happened to her, according to her, by Manson. It turns into a cartoon. She's narrating something that sounds pretty horrific. But it's what happened to her is like a 18 or 19, 20-year-old, whatever she was. She's 18 or 19, right?
Right.
But the cartoon that they're depicting as she's narrating it is of a little girl. So it's like, that's propaganda, and that's tweaking, twisting, manufacturing a narrative to make the audience believe her. So it's like, if you don't know anything and you're watching this and you're like, you know, you grew up or you just always knew of Marilyn Manson peripherally, and then you're seeing this for the first time, you're like, oh, this poor innocent girl on the cartoon, on this thing, as she's narrating these horrific events, sounds and looks terrible. But after what I had witnessed happen from Columbine on and all the times he's been sued and attacked by the media, I was like, this is just confirmation for me that this is once again a false narrative. And I felt like it was time to, like, I want to say something. You know, I've been spending a lot of time the past year, especially writing about people who've been maligned and hated for various reasons. And I didn't want that to just become the thing where, like, anyone who's being attacked, now I have to, you know, go write the opposite. But everyone I write about, I truly believe that there's another angle to it, you know, and whether people like it or not, I would like to offer that angle. Also trying to show you objectively what I'm seeing here in terms of the, you know, these people like Evan Rachel Wood or was Ilma Gore, who are clearly power hungry activists who saw Manson as like a stepping like ladder to the new type of success, which is victimhood currency. And so when I say that, I say it because Evan Rachel Wood came out with all this right around the same time as the 2016 election, right after Trump was elected, right? Me Too was burning up, and in my opinion, she saw an opportunity to catapult herself into that stratosphere of the Me Too victimhood status, and used Manson for it. And he's not a perfect person. He's clearly not an angel. I don't know him personally, but I also know he's not what they're saying he is, once again. And I also know she's an activist, as well as Ilma Gore. Well, we know Ilma Gore is from her past with her art and what she's done. There's nothing wrong with that, but I've been referring to Ilma as the original Jussie Smollett because she's known for getting supposedly attacked by MAGA extremists.
Right. She claimed that she was kidnapped by MAGA extremists, that
Punched,
she was driven around
like
in a van. Yeah, I know, it's bizarre.
No police reports. No one. And hey, things happen, and I will apologize if I'm wrong. But I don't think I am.
I don't think you are. I don't think we are. Well, I think that's really interesting. And you said that sometimes when you take the side of people that you feel have been falsely accused, you get this automatic reaction, and I do as well. Oh, well, you'll defend anyone that you like, or you'll defend anyone that's accused. You're just a skeptic. And actually, that's not true. It's just that I have seen, and probably similarly, I have seen so many cases now where the media will crucify someone, an activist will crucify someone, and then it turns out that they're not guilty. And I mean, we saw this with Johnny Depp, and that was really, for me, that was one of the early cases. Chris Hardwick, for me, was really the canary in the coal mine as well, and he ended up being vindicated. I wanted to ask you, when you talk about this case, the Manson situation, with other people who are not familiar with it, what do you think are the biggest obstacles to getting people to see the light on this, or to see the other perspective?
It's figuring out a way to break down the caricature of Manson in their minds, because a lot of them who aren't plugged in to him as like we might be, or other fans, they believe in the caricature that's been portrayed of him in the news. So you kind of have to and that
he himself is reinforced, right?
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, he leans into
persona.
it. He leans into it. He is like a Hunter Thompson, in a way, a Gigi Allen. So he makes it easy for people to misinterpret him. But yeah, so for people like my mom, for instance, even though she knows the way I viewed him since I was 12, she still sees the news as the authority of the truth. So when she sees it on NBC or Fox or in the paper, how could it be wrong, right? But because of Manson, I already distrust those things, any of those institutions. And I always am skeptical of my skepticism, as we all should be. But that's how I lead with those. So I always have to break down things, because they'll be like, well, they'll go with rumors that they heard in terms of the caricature. He took out a rib, didn't he, to give himself a blowjob, right? He shot the kids in Columbine, right? Kind of like what they do to Alex Jones. There's people who come to Alex Jones and say, you shot those kids, right? So you got to take apart those things. It's a finesse. It's a dance with them, because you don't want to go overboard, be like, he's totally innocent. He is. Even though I believe that, but because you have to delicately break it down, and then they see. You also have to break down the Evan Rachel Wood stuff, because she's been given this amazing platform with the authority of truth.
Celebrated. Even
that's a bizarre.
But she has been given so many credible platforms by the media. So yes, you're right. It's almost to me, I think, like a kind of a cult deprogramming in a way, getting people to first not be so resistant to the idea that this guy in crazy makeup who said a lot of outrageous things actually isn't a monster. And then I think that when you start to tell people some of the more shocking aspects of the case that they might not be familiar with, such as, did you know that Evan Rachel Wood forged an FBI letter? Did you know that she lost custody of her child? Did you know that one of the main accusers, Ashley Smithline, flipped and in a legal document declared that it was a hoax?
Those are the best examples too. But yeah, those are the best. When I tell people that she forged stuff, they're like, no. I'm like, look it up. I don't, and they're like, but no accountability for some reason on that side when it comes to the victimhood, and then in terms of platform, she even got the craziest platform of all. She was able to go to Congress. She was able to sit also in the Capitol in California, and she helped pass laws based on her experiences with Manson. So when I say they're power hungry activists, they went for a straight line to make laws, which are now affecting people, and I don't know, I'd like to look into those laws and how they've changed people's perspective of, reporting, sexual assault in places like California, like, has it increased? Are there like a lot more fraudulent cases now? Is there more people behind bars because of it? Because, I don't also have to tell people, like, I'm not anti-reporting sexual assault. I'm not like, obviously bad things happen. Many women in my life, including my mother, have told me horrendous stories. So whenever I always have to like give that, like, when I talk to people, like, just because I'm defending this person you hate, it doesn't mean I think everything's fake. I think a lot of things are fake, but I also know there's just evil people in the world, clearly. But maybe not the people who are being propped up in the news as the monsters, because like, who's benefiting from it the most? And for me, it looks like the victims are. They're not really, to me, they're doing a disservice to real victims.
Exactly.
Right? Because there's actual victims out there who don't have a platform at all, and the police also probably have a hard time believing, because they do also hear fraudulent reports all the time. I've talked to many police officers about it.
They do.
And it's a huge problem. And I would like to see people who report false crimes get punished as well.
Right.
But there's just no accountability for people who do wrong. But I think it's starting to turn. I don't know. Do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like the narrative against him is flipping?
I think that in regard to Me Too and people's credulity about Me Too accusations, Me Too cases, I think that the narrative has definitely turned to a large degree, where people have a lot more skepticism early on. With Manson, I have been this past year, I've been somewhat cynical about the probability of the word getting out, because I just feel like the image is such a barrier to people, but also the number of accusers. And I think, for me personally, that's one of the most difficult things when I'm trying to explain to people the situation to people, and they say, but there's so many people, right? And so you have to break that down, and you have to say to them, well, okay, yes, there are multiple accusers, but we have to actually look at these accusations. And when you break it down, and when you look at each accuser and each accusation or set of accusations, they do fall apart for various reasons. But I do think that there's a lot more resistance to the idea of Manson being innocent than someone who had a more cuddly image like Johnny Depp, for example. I am hopeful, though, that the word will get out. I mean, we're talking about it. I'm so happy that you're talking about it. There are a lot of people who've put in a lot of time to set up websites, the Manson cases.
Shout out to the Manson cases.
Shout out to Marilyn Manson Uncanceled. And I mean, there are a number of other sites that I would direct people to. And so just this week, Eddie Trunk, just the last couple of weeks, Eddie Trunk has been talking about Manson, because Manson apparently is going to release a new album this year. You've heard this as well, I guess.
I have. I know people who have heard it, but they heard it a while back, so it could have changed by then, because I think a lot of artists like to share their stuff, to gauge a reaction with the crowd.
Right.
But from what I've heard, it sounds like it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so I think it'll be really interesting, and this is something that Eddie Trunk said as well. I have a curiosity as to how this plays out in the music industry, because as you know, the music industry has changed a lot, and someone can release their own music on their own YouTube channel, and they can become very popular. Like, who's the guy with the beard and the red hair? Richmond's
Oliver Anthony.
Yes,
Oliver
thank
Anthony.
you, Oliver
Yes,
Anthony, the
yes.
voice from God.
Yes.
I'll be bringing bread in a minute, but it'll be interesting to see what are the parameters that he can work within as someone who has been officially canceled in such a powerful way?
Because we need more disruptors who I think are coming from a good place for the most part. I can't speak to them like that. I know Kanye just a little bit, but I believe that they are disrupting for an actual, I'm going to say a really bad word right now, so excuse me, but like for actual progress, not just like progress, but like, how do we, build a world where we can challenge the status quo?
Right. And that's what Manson, I think, represented, is this idea of challenging the status quo and also critiquing the state of the American family. One of his first albums was, what was it? Portrait of an American Family.
Yep.
And so critiquing the state of the American family and a very extreme 90s conservatism that was that now I look at and it seems antiquated in a way, but people forget how much censorship or how much pressure to censor there was coming from the right in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
And so I think people looking back at Manson now, looking back at what he was doing in the 90s particular, it just seems shocking and like, why did he say those things, or why did he put those things in his book, or why did he try to be such a creep or what have you in his public image? But like, he was a provocateur, And he was reacting against something that was going, a very particular phenomenon dynamic in our society at the time.
We need those people.
Right.
Our society needs those people. Culture needs it to be a healthy culture. You know, there's I forget the tribe, they're from the Southwest. They had a thing in their tribe. I don't want to say the wrong tribe, but anyway, they had a thing called a heyoka. You know what a heyoka is? A heyoka is someone in this particular tribe that would live their lives completely backwards from everyone else. Like they would walk backwards, you know, just to kind of remind everyone what it means to go forwards. Manson to me is a heyoka, and a lot of the people we've already talked about are heyokas, and I love heyokas. Like Andy Kaufman's one of my favorite people all time. That's for sure a heyoka. So it's like I need them. We all need them to gauge how we feel about the world, ourselves and the world around us, right? Because we have an immune system of ideas, and it needs to be challenged, right? You get a cold, your immune system kicks in, you get stronger. Same thing for ideas, and when it comes to expression or hearing words that are, you know, you don't like or you do like. It helps you build a stronger sense of yourself.